Hi there, in this video we're going to learn about proportional and non-proportional relationships. First, identifying proportional relationships. Two quantities are considered proportional if they have a constant ratio or a unit rate. This ratio is also known as the constant of proportionality. So when you're talking about constant proportionality, when you're talking about constant ratio or unit rate, they all mean the same thing. For relationships in which the ratio is not constant, the two quantities then are said to be non-proportional. So determine whether the cost of coffee is proportional to the number of pounds. If the relationship is proportional, identify the constant of proportionality and explain your reasoning. So here, let's start off by looking at the rate of the cost of the pounds of coffee. So this rate right here, in comparison to the cost dollars. So when we write our ratio, if we look, it says determine whether the cost is proportional to the number of pounds. So the cost proportional to the number of pounds. So when we write our ratios, we're going to do it as cost over pounds. So our first ratio is going to be 3/1. In other words, it'll be $3 for 1 pound of coffee. Our next ratio is going to be 6/2, or $6 for 2 pounds of coffee. Our next ratio is going to be 9/3, or in other words, $9 for 3 pounds of coffee. And then our last ratio is going to be 12/4, or $12 for 4 pounds of coffee. If you notice, all of these ratios are actually equal, so the cost is proportional to the number of pounds. So the constant of proportionality in this case would be 3. You notice the ratio is all simplified to 3. Let's look at another example. Determine whether the distance is proportional to the time traveled. So the distance in proportion with the time traveled. We're looking to see if distance is proportional to the time traveled. If the relationship is proportional, identify your constant of proportionality and explain your reasoning. So distance to time. So our first ratio is going to be 50/1. Our next ratio is going to be 70/2, or 70 miles in 2 hours. And then our last ratio is going to be 90 miles over 3 hours. All of these, well, do they all simplify to 50/1? Right? 70/2 doesn't simplify to 50/1, and 90/3 doesn't simplify to 50/1. So the distance is not proportional to time in this case. Let's look at another example. Uptown tickets cost $7 per baseball game plus a $3 processing fee per order. So is the cost of an order proportional to the number of tickets ordered? So in this case, if we were to buy one ticket, okay, it'll cost $7 for the one game ticket plus a $3 processing fee. Okay, 7 plus 3, that gets you $10. So the cost is $10 for one ticket. If we were to buy two tickets, okay, the cost would be $7 for one ticket, $7 for a second ticket, and $3 for the processing fee. If you add that together, you get 17. If you add that together, you got 17. So your ratio in this case would be 17/2. Let's see what the cost would be for 3 tickets ordered. 3 tickets, $7 each ticket, plus a $3 processing fee, and it costs $24. And then for 4 tickets, right, they're each $7 plus a $3 processing fee. You get a total cost of $31 for the 4 tickets. So let's fill in our ratios and then continue. So our ratios, right, so is the cost of an order proportional to the number of tickets ordered? So we have to put the cost over the number of tickets. Cost over number of tickets. So we have 10/1, 17/2, 24/3, 31/4. Is the cost the same? No, they're not, because you can't actually simplify these ratios to be the same thing. So they're not equivalent. Since they're not equivalent, then the relationship is not proportional. If you have trouble just looking at these and being able to tell if they're equivalent or not, you can always do 10 divided by 1 is 10. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. So you can divide out the ratios too and see if you get a common number. Some concluding thoughts. You want to pay attention to the way that you're setting up, that's irritating me. So the way that you're setting up your ratios. If the question asks about the cost per person, then you need to make sure that your ratio is written as the cost over a person, or the number of people I really should have written. You want to ask yourself, are the ratios equivalent? You can divide the two numbers if you can't tell. If they are equivalent, that means they are proportional, or they have a constant ratio, or a unirate, or constant proportionality. If they're not equivalent, then that means that they are non-proportional. Okay, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned about proportional and non-proportional relationships. I'm also going to give a little shout out to my period 6 class because they were so excited that I reached over 100 subscribers. So thank you, period 6. You guys are awesome.